Hey everyone, welcome to That Peculiar. I'm Nathan.
I'm Andra.
I actually have an episode for you today. Fun fact. The hashtag symbol is technically called an octothorpe.
Octothorpe.
An octothorpe. The octo prefix refers to the 8 points on the symbol, but the thorpe remains a mystery.
Okay.
There you go. The octothorpe. Octothorpe, that's peculiar.
It is.
Right. So, today we are actually going to be talking about Appalachia in the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay. Ooh.
Have you not heard of? Are you familiar with it at all?
I know that
No?
Appalachian Mountains, but
Yeah, but you don't know any of like the weird things about mountains?
are you you're not talking about like what is the thing called? This would be crazy if you're doing an episode on...
What is it?
I texted it to myself last night because I almost said it. The Wendigo?
No, actually, I'm not. We are talking about the tunnel system in
Okay,
the Appalachian Mountains.
almost did an episode on the Wendigo, so it would have been like very cohesive. We might want to start telling each other what our episodes are.
Well, we might want to, because I'm literally like the Wendigo and a couple other like creatures are in my like pipeline.
That would have been so funny.
That would have been perfect. But no, we
I
are
didn't
taking
do
you
it.
we are taking you underground literally with the Appalachian Mountains. So what are they? Help them. And why do so many people think there's more going on down there than meets the eye?
Cool.
Oh, here's the plan. First, we're going to go into some of the history, understand why the area is such a hot spot for mystery. Then we're going to talk about what's actually known about these tunnels, and then the stuff we can confirm. And then, this is the fun part, is the conspiracy theories.
Yay! We love a conspiracy theory.
You do love a conspiracy theory. Are these tunnels ancient? Are they alien? Or are they some part of a government cover-up? We'll let you decide.
We are going to start with some of the historical context, like
Yay.
the geological formation. Don't worry,
This
I
is
know
the one word I can say.
it's not my fault. You choose the hard words. So the Appalachian is it people like I hear it called Appalachia, Appalachian.
Appalachian is
The
my
Appalachian-
pronunciation.
I say Appalachian Mountains too, and then people are like, "Well, if you're from Appalachia," and I'm like, I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's Appalachia.
Like what's correct. I just saying. So, the Appalachian Mountains are some of actually the oldest mountains on planet Earth, and they're over 480 million years old.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? They
That
can
is
date it back.
insane. Yeah.
I know. So over all that time, the erosion and natural forces have carved out a ton of caves and underground spaces. And that's what things make it so interesting. The caves and the spaces are a part of what's called karst topography, which forms when water dissolves soft rock like limestone.
Right.
And the result is huge cave systems, sinkholes, and underground streams. Okay. So, I'm actually going to have some questions for you throughout this too, just so you're aware. So, like, what do you think? What about underground spaces captures people's imagination? Like,
Well,
Caves. People
anything
love
could
caves.
be underneath them or in them. You can find anything. Any underground space. Like, think about Legends and how all of downtown Sonora has that
Oh,
coal
yes.
system underneath it.
That's
A
not
lot of
even
people.
that's not even
What?
just a coal system. That's actually they used to use that kind of like our own little underground path system to like
Yeah,
get gold to and from the bank from
but
businesses.
people constantly think that there's something down there. I think it's just the mystery of possibilities. Have you
Oh,
ever seen Modern Family?
yes.
There is an episode where Phil and his son Luke
Yeah.
are talking about treasures underneath their house, and they're just going on and on about all the possibilities, and then they go down there, and it was actually somebody's like old Halloween decorations, but they like even called the cops because they thought it was a real skeleton.
That's so
But
funny.
it just reminds me of that. They like sat there talking about all the possibilities, and I think it can be pretty endless.
Yeah, I think I agree with that so much. It's like the mystery or the fear of the unknown about
Mm-hmm.
caves. And I mean, even recently in China, they found that huge like cave system that had an ancient forest inside of it that has.
What?
Didn't you hear about that? Yeah, it's I believe it's China. Double check me. But they found this huge, like, massive hole to like a cave system. But I mean, it's so big that there are like full-grown trees in there, and there are like plants we haven't seen and animals that have been living there in their own little ecosystem for.
That is so cool.
It is very cool. There's actually pictures of it online that you can look at also. So people's fascination with geological formations, long time.
Right.
So before European settlers came along, the land that the Appalachian Mountains are actually on belonged to indigenous people like the Cherokee and the Shawnee. And their legends talk about underground beings.
Mm-hmm.
The Cherokee, for example, have stories about the little people who lived in caves who were both protectors and tricksters. This almost
So little
reminds me.
elves.
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the water babies.
Yeah, Tahoe Tessie.
Yeah, it brings me back to Tahoe Tessie and like the water babies and how like you want to please them or they're gonna trick you and I guess,
Yeah,
eat you. I don't know. So some researchers think that the stories might have been inspired by real phenomena like an unusual cave formation or even the discovery of artifacts from an earlier culture.
interesting.
So thinking about like Tahoe Tessie and like the water babies, do you think that this is based on actual encounters or do you think it's also metaphorical?
It's really hard because indigenous people had their stories passed forever, and
It's
that's
and
essentially their version of entertainment too.
yeah, and in Native American culture, a lot of their history is passed down orally.
Yeah, it was all orally because they didn't even have a written language until way later,
Yeah,
which is crazy. So I think both. I think there's probably something to a little bit of both, and maybe there's a reason why they talked about these things in their history, but I also wonder if there's a story or a lesson like the water babies.
yeah, I agree. I feel like a lot of stories, they start from like something happened with something and then it morphed into more of a metaphor and also got
Yeah,
adapted. And, oral history is basically one giant game of telephone. So
right,
things, get changed and embellished, and I'm sure more magical and more metaphysical and more
right.
crazy, I guess
I
I
took
would say.
an English class and they were talking about how you can actually see more truth in fiction or legends than you can in like most of our textbooks. This is a course I took, but what they're basically arguing is that books that we read today are often like from somebody's perception, especially like true books. But he
Yeah.
was arguing myths and legends, just because they're not like seen by the eye does not mean there's any less truth to those statements. If anything, he thought there was more truth to them than, like anything that was being written at the time. I thought that was so interesting.
That's a very interesting thought. If you stumbled across a cave with strange carvings or artifacts, would your first thought be ghosts, ancient civilizations, or something else?
Probably ancient civilizations, or like somebody's been lost in this cave. They don't know how to get out.
That's my thing would be ancient civilizations, only because we grew up where like we have Native American
caves.
Yeah, we have caves, and we're on Native American lands. Like, I actually found a grinding rock in my grandparents' property.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was real cool. But like, you can actually see where they wore it out, and it's fascinating.
We live in big acorn country too, so that's
Acorns. So now we're gonna fast forward to the 1800s, and the Appalachians become a major hub for coal mining. So miners were digging tunnels left and right, but there are stories about them finding weird tunnels that didn't seem to be man-made.
right.
So imagine being a miner breaking through a wall only to find a perfectly smooth,
Another wall.
a smooth, mysterious tunnel that you didn't know was already there, and it was smooth, not
just
chiseled.
for people listening, that can happen through water, right?
It can,
From water.
yeah. That's one of the things that's the karst topography.
Yeah.
So, in fact, some of the miners reportedly refused to work in certain areas because they claimed to hear strange noises or see shadowy figures.
Whoa.
I mean, you're working in a mine under a hill, low oxygen.
There should be no shadows.
There shouldn't. I mean, if you have like your little candle lantern thing,
It should be yours.
shadows. Yeah, but what if they saw shadows besides that? Man.
I would think there's like an animal or something, and I'd be like, no.
If I saw shadows and weird things, I'd probably say pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going back there either.
Respectfully, no.
I'm gonna go mine somewhere else. Thank you.
Yep.
Ding dong. So, do you think modern mining uncovered more of these strange spaces in the mountains, or do you think that era has passed? Do you think we're gonna find anything else?
Yes. Absolutely. I think there is not even enough research that they could do on planet Earth in my lifetime where they will not be discovering stuff.
I mean, they just discovered that there's actually a different internal core to our Earth.
Like, what science digest do you follow that I don't? When did this happen?
TikTok. No, it's so
Didn't TikTok just get banned?
It's still around, okay? We have a few more days.
I just saw a video, right, when I was waiting for you. And it was a post. And it's my friend Natalie's post. And she said, all the recipes I'll be making after, like, TikTok gets banned. And it's like an ice cube and and it's funny.
No calorie. But yeah, so no, I get a lot of science stuff on my TikTok because I enjoy that stuff. But yeah, so there's actually a different core piece of our core that's solid.
Okay, so it's not just molten.
Yes,
There's
so that's
a solid piece. Interesting.
Yes. So we're always discovering new things and learning more things about.
I think there's not a chance they won't be in my lifetime, at least.
Oh, for sure, especially with technology the way it is. So then, in the Cold War, did you know, which I doubt you did because you don't know anything about the Appalachian Mountains, the government built secret underground bunkers, like the Greenbrier bunker in West Virginia. Its massive fallout shelter was built to protect Congress.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
So I do know about some bunkers. I think there's one in Jamestown. I only know from doing my history tours, but
we have bunkers.
Yeah, there's like one in Jamestown. Sorry, not California. Jamestown,
Virginia.
And then there's a couple of other ones in a tour. Like, I think there might be one in Gettysburg. But the way they described it is like, that's just where people stayed.
I think it's so, they're like, you know what, Cold War, we need to protect just the government. Nobody else.
Do you think that ended?
No, I don't. That's what's funny to me. So, of course, that makes people start wondering, like, what else is hidden under the mountains? What else are they not telling us? So during the Cold War, paranoia was at an all-time high, and the government, of course, wasn't exactly transparent. And that's why so many conspiracy theories from the era still linger.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun. So great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, considering that they didn't just come out and say that they had built the bunker, it does honestly beg it into question.
No, it's weird.
What else are you doing?
What is that for?
What is it? Yeah, besides protecting Congress, and if you can do that and hide it from people, what else can you do? Have done, are doing. This episode is very perfect for the time that we're in right now.
Yeah, I'm like, what is the difference between now and the Cold War?
Like, I literally was not going into it like that, but here we are. Sorry, everybody. That's not my intention. So now that was kind of like the historical context of the mountains and the tunnels and the mining and the government and the Cold War and indigenous peoples and their stories, right?
Right.
So now we're going into what we actually know about the tunnels. So what we know for sure is that the Appalachian Mountains have some of the biggest and most famous cave systems in the world. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is one of those, and it is the longest cave system on the planet.
Wow.
The planet. Over 400 miles of tunnels have been mapped from this cave system.
400, and you're saying have been mapped. Are you saying there could be more?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is how do we not know that there is not more tunnels when 400 miles of tunnels have already been mapped in this mountain range?
400 miles.
Yes.
Jesus.
That's what is so crazy. When I told you that this cave system was massive, Andra, I was not kidding.
400 miles. That would be like driving to Texas right now.
It'd be further.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that is crazy.
It's a long distance. Yes, it's a lot of tunnels. And it's funny because some people report finding tunnels that are too perfect to be natural because they're smooth, geometric, and almost seem deliberate. But I still kind of go back to the karst topography with like water going through and making, smooth.
I mean, water does make pretty perfect.
Yeah,
circular.
I mean, it might have kind of like a ripple. That's how I would imagine it. It was like a rippley sort of thing. So there's actually even some talk about the tunnels being cut into solid bedrock, which would have taken an incredible amount of effort even with today's technology, because bedrock is very strong.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you're thinking about all these tunnels and then there's the ones that don't seem natural, why do you think that they don't get more attention from scientists and geologists and the other ists that are in that area? Like, why aren't we doing as much as we can to, like...
Scientists and geologists and all of those people, they have to have grants and permits to go into those locations.
So what I'm hearing is you think the government's not allowing those kinds of things to happen.
I am not saying yay or nay. I'm just saying you can't go into an unpermitted area.
Why is that unpermitted? It's just a cave.
Has anybody done research recently?
Not that I could find.
I
don't know. Just makes you wonder.
Yeah.
There's also stories about strange artifacts showing up in these tunnels, like tools, pottery, or even bones that don't match what we know about the history of the area. And sometimes people claim to see carvings or symbols on the wall that no one can explain.
So I read recently in a history book that's not an American history book.
Interesting.
I read that they are saying that Vikings actually made it here before Christopher Columbus on his 4th journey over what?
I have heard this. I have heard this theory.
So I read it in a book.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to somebody about it and they did the same thing. And they were like, oh yeah, I totally heard about that.
I have heard about that.
Something about Vikings, as we know, they had a lot more tools. They have a lot more history behind them to maybe possibly back some of this information up. I'm not saying it's Vikings that made it, but they had a lot more tools and everything than what we did. I mean, before anyone even came to America, they had more tools way back when like nobody else had that many tools.
Yeah.
They were, if that makes sense.
So you think it could be Vikings that found Appalachian Mountain area and were carving into
I think that's a
to create
great
shelter
possibility.
or like
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's a great possibility. I'm also thinking, like some people think there's ancient civilizations that have lived before us and burned with the meteorites and everything with the dinosaurs.
Well, I mean there have been known ancient cultures that did have like subterranean living.
Right. But what do you think?
What do I think?
Mhm.
I honestly think that it could, be. Let me get to this next point, and then I'll tell you what I also think.
Okay.
So, because one of the intriguing finds was a set of stone tools that were embedded in the rock layers that were supposedly millions of years old.
Right.
So that goes back into, like, I think that there were ancient civilizations that may have been living in the cave systems, a city, or,
Would not be Vikings. That timeline does not add up.
That's what I would be thinking. It's
Right.
weird to like think of a cave system as homes. For some reason, I just think of ants. Like,
That is hilarious.
They're just going away, chiseling, and making all these tunnels. But
Are you thinking the movie Ants too?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see it.
But my thing with that too, though, is kind of like if you are a subterranean culture and you actually have all these tools, I didn't see any like reports of like rooms, like where you would like a big cavern of rooms. They're just tunnels. So I don't see anybody living in there. I haven't,
Maybe there was a purpose for it.
Like maybe they were mining also, perhaps? I don't know.
That does seem a little suspicious because ancient civilizations in like Italy and all of them, most of them had rooms.
Yeah, you would have to have a place.
They had
like
spaces. Some of them even had like toilets already.
Yeah, you would find
a version of a toilet.
You would find a place where people would bathe. You would find a place where people would supposedly sleep. You would find potentially a throne room, for example, or a storage facility.
What tells them these tools are over millions of years old?
It's the rock that they were embedded into. So the area around the rock, those rocks were carbon dated to be millions of years old.
But anyone... Okay.
Yeah. It's weird that there's like, they're finding tools and stuff, but they really don't have any answers for it. And then there are also local stories. Hikers and property owners sometimes talk about finding tunnel entrances that look super out of place.
Uh-huh.
But the weird part is that these entrances often get sealed off or marked as private property real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So there are even reports of people seeing government vehicles or government officials near these areas, which only adds to the suspicion.
Right. Has no property owner just ever like kept quiet and gone investigating?
I don't know. The thing about the Appalachian Mountains is people are very like, it's almost like they're afraid of the mountains. They don't like you're not supposed to whistle when you're outside. You're not supposed to answer to someone calling your name. You're not supposed to follow voices. Don't stay out after dark.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
I've
of
heard that.
rules about living in the mountains over there.
It's actually in a movie, which is funny because we live in the mountains over here.
But it's different over here. We don't have 400 miles of tunnel that we know
Right.
of.
We're just closer to where the Donner Party eat each other.
Yes. So if you found since you're talking about, property owners going in, if you found a random entrance into a cave tunnel that you had never heard of before, would you go in?
Honestly, you have to catch me on a ballsy day. You got me at 50-50 on a Tuesday, but like maybe I had a glass of wine on a Saturday and I found it and I'm a little curious. Or maybe I sit with it for
Why
like
are you outside with a glass of wine in the middle of
I
the
go
mountains?
outside with a glass of wine all the time.
In the middle of the mountains?
Where do I live?
That's beside the point. I'm talking about like the mountains where there's tunnels.
You're telling me that nobody here goes to God's bath with a glass of wine?
I'm sure not a glass. I'm sure it's a box.
Okay, I have my little canteen, my little box of wine, whatever, but you got a 50-50 chance of how I'm feeling that day.
All right. I don't know if I'd go in. It depending on how creepy the entrance was.
Yeah, I also think the time of day matters.
Oh, if it was the middle of the night, I'm not going in there.
Yeah, and am I alone?
I mean, yes. If I'm alone, it's nighttime. No. If it's daytime and I'm alone, no.
No.
Also,
if it's
no.
daytime and there's people with me, maybe.
And I mean, there has to be 5 of us minimum. Not just mean one other person. I'm not playing that game. No, there gotta be 5 of us. I need witnesses.
5. Interesting. I need at least 3 people that I can run faster than.
That too. If I gotta run, I gotta run quick.
Guys, don't go in a cave with me.
I am not about to sacrifice myself and tell you to run and leave me. Take me with you.
In all honesty, like knowing my personality, I would probably try and help and then die. I'd be the first to be murdered.
Yeah, I'd be one of those people that's like, no, we have to get him out of the tunnel too. They both died.
Yeah. We're too nice.
Survival of the fittest. Guess I'm not fit. So now we're going to go into conspiracy theories.
Woohoo!
So theory number 1, obviously we've talked about it, is ancient civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, what's up?
I was just doing
Oh,
number
okay.
1.
Nuno. So it's one of the most talked about theories is the ancient civilizations, and some people believe that the tunnels were built by an advanced society that lived here long before the Native Americans. So they're saying that it's connected to the mound builders who left behind the giant earth structures in the Midwest and Appalachians. So a mound builder were prehistoric people known for constructing large earthworks like burial mounds and ceremonial sites. Now, before you discredit that, there are stories about giant skeletons being found in the area, like really big humans. But scientists haven't confirmed these findings, so of course we don't really know the answer.
Also, are they sure it's human skulls and not like...
They just said giant skeletons. They didn't. It says human, like really big humans, but it just says giant skeletons.
Right, but it could be like apes. It could be
who knows?
Gorillas. It could be.
Do you believe giants were a thing?
I have not put much thought into it, so I'm gonna say I've never once been like thinking about giants existing before me, but maybe I will after this. Who knows?
Okay. Theory numero 2 is we get into aliens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, aliens, which is very interesting considering that like recently there's been
all
so
those
many
UFOs.
There's been so many sightings recently, and then the government's kind of like, yeah, those exist. We're kind of like,
What's
okay.
Also crazy is that people aren't talking about it more. They're just like,
We're burnt out. I can't
But
take any more
TikTok
information.
is going away, and that's top news. But aliens, nah.
It is because TikTok is where people connect. People go to connect there.
I'm not on TikTok.
Well, you
And
should be for the last
I'm
5 days.
connecting just fine with people without TikTok.
I enjoy the news that I get off of it. It's fascinating. So we're talking about the aliens, and people think that the tunnels were built by extraterrestrials or used as UFO bases. The Appalachian Mountains do have a ton of UFO sightings, and people report hearing weird humming sounds or seeing strange lights around the tunnel.
Right. That is something that I know of as the Alps, is the weird sightings, the aliens, people have gone missing. So I think number 2 is a clear possibility.
Okay, there's even talk about secret agreements between aliens and the government, who are also using the tunnels. So there could be some kind of hidden operation.
I believe it.
That one, you accept that one?
I accept it, although it's hard to see that ancient aliens or anything is working with Donald Trump, but everything else seems believable. I mean,
so speaking of the government, now we're going to go into a theory involving the government. So during the Cold War that we talked about is that we knew that they were building underground bunkers and tunnels.
Right.
But who said that they ever stopped?
Right.
Some people think there's a whole network of deep underground military bases, or called DUMBs.
Deep underground military. That's funny.
Connected by high-speed rail. Do you think the government would do something like that?
Oh, those motherfuckers are on jets way too much.
You don't think that they would build a whole system, underground tunnels? Like, they built bunkers to protect Congress. Why wouldn't they keep building into the mountain?
You think there's a high-speed tunnel railway?
Oh, I don't know if there's a high-speed railway, but I could see them building into the deep crevasses of that mountain. Yeah, crevasses.
I think there's something down there. Maybe weapons. Maybe atomic bombs. You know, they hit a bunch of atomic bombs everywhere.
That's true.
I think there's something there. I think our government in America is living life in the Mile High Club.
What do you mean?
They're fine.
They're fine. They ain't tripping.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna get a little more spooky. Another theory is that people have reportedly seen cryptids like Bigfoot or Mothman near these tunnels. And some people even think that these creatures live in the tunnels. And then there's the paranormal angle, where there are reportedly sudden drops in temperature, weird noises, and electromagnetic spikes.
I don't know what Mothman is, but Sasquatch is meant to be giant.
You've never heard of Mothman?
Not until this exact moment.
Interesting.
Real time, I'm learning about Mothman.
Yeah,
Is
Mothman.
this like a man that's a moth?
It's an Appalachian thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, since we're talking about 400 miles of tunnel that's mapped and all these crazy government conspiracies and all these things, why do you think that cryptids and paranormal activity get tied into this also?
Who mapped those 400 miles of tunnels?
I'm sure it was scientists and geologists and others.
But nobody recently.
Not that I can mind.
I think it is all weird. I think it is a little mysterious. I think there's something weird about the Alps.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's ancient or man-made now, I think there's something.
Okay. Well, experts usually explain these things as natural phenomena, but even they admit that there are parts of the Appalachian cave systems that haven't been fully explored.
Reversed.
What?
And there's no clearance as of now to explore them.
As far as we know, yeah. I mean, the locals say that people who live near these mountains for generations have crazy stories, wild encounters, hidden entrances. So, I mean, the locals have a lot of their own stories, and the skeptics say that we're just reading into too many coincidences. But is it all made up?
Is
it all
there
just a story?
such a thing as too many coincidences? Because at some point,
Right?
if you're adding the word "two" in front of coincidences, maybe it's not a coincidence.
It might not be. It might be.
There
more...
should not be that. That should not go to two and coincidence. They don't go together.
I mean, I could see a coincidence, but too many.
That's what I mean. Too many.
Too many.
If it's two with the additional O, that's too many O's. Should not happen.
Oh god, that's so funny. God, I love that. So, in your opinion, like, what do you think? Do you think that they're natural? Do you think that they're supernatural? Do you think they're all eons?
I think they're natural.
All of them? Besides the mines that we know about.
I think some, of course, have probably been man-made, but I think the majority of it is natural.
So you're saying like the super weird, smooth, geometrical ones?
I think is natural, yes. But I think there's suspicion surrounding around the area on purpose.
Like hype? To keep people away?
Yes, to keep people away. But I'm also wondering if there's just too many mysteries around the area.
I mean, a lot of missing people are in the area around the cave
yeah,
system.
that's what I remember.
Yep.
I think there's something really weird. Like, it's giving me Stranger Things.
Yes,
where,
it does.
They go into that area that nobody knows anything about, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's weird to be like, okay, well, there's all these unexplored mountain tunnels and caves. I heard one time that they're actually connected to a much larger cave system in the United States.
Right.
And so one of the theories is that like the cryptid creatures use them as a way of travel to remain unseen. And then that the people that go missing around the cave entrances are dinner.
I mean, maybe. What is weird is that so many people have gone missing around those areas, and then it's just cold cases.
Yeah, that's a lot of cold cases.
Mm-hmm.
Really weird.
Don't live in the Alps.
Any final thought? Oh, that's your final thought?
Yeah, don't live in the Alps.
Don't live in the Appalachian Mountains. Love Andra.
Yeah, love Andra.
Well,
Stay safe.
So, I mean, if you're listening and you have your own theories, something that we haven't talked about, or you have some insider information.
Ooh,
yes.
Insider information.
Do you live in the Appalachian Mountains? Do you have your own story? Because
Please let us know.
Yes, please comment and let us know, or you can send an email to perpetuallypeculiarpod@gmail.com because I would love to hear stories. Like, I'm down to have a guest and hear crazy stories.
Hell yeah. You want to guest on the show? Just message us.
Send us an email, drop us a comment, something. Anyway.
Anything.
Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of That's Peculiar. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Thank you for listening to That's Peculiar. Please make sure to like, comment, and follow to keep up to date on our weekly episodes. If you have a peculiar story you would like to hear, please email us at perpetuallypeculiarpod@gmail.com.